broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Oh, yeah.
Fire.
Fire.
Song gets me going every week.
Every time, man.
Every week.
It's so hype. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You are at the Hell's Kitchen After Show. This is season 13, of course. Episode 6, Top 13 Compete. That's where we're at this episode. I am your host, Lim Gonsalvez. Always with me, my partner in crime, Mr. Jeff Thurm. Tell him what's up, man.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, yeah, we
Missing
can just
our
keep
girl,
playing. We
though.
can just play. I know. We just get this going. It's like start pop. I don't know.
Let's
I
see your
can't dance.
moves.
Yeah, no, I have no
Let's
moves.
see 'em.
It's really bad. It's really bad. We're not going to embarrass ourselves. All right, so Sterling. I just want to say the name Sterling. He was all over the episode as always. My favorite, as you know. I love how he did a remix of the song.
Yes.
That was amazing.
It was great.
Like, it was amazing.
It was a perfect Sterling edition.
Yes,
To,
he's just so full. Like, okay, I've said this before. He is my favorite.
yes, we know.
He's not gonna win.
Yes, we know.
I just hope that he gets because he's entertaining to watch. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Like, he's entertaining to watch.
He's a casting director's dream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I just hope that he lasts a long time. I know it's just kind of looking not too good for him. We're going to save that for predictions.
Save it for the end.
But let's start off like we always start off how the show starts.
Mm-hmm.
And they just, of course, had, someone get eliminated. Katie starts talking, and she's talking to some members from the blue team. And she said that she really wanted to nominate someone else because in that last episode she nominated herself, which Chef Ramsay had a problem with that. He's like, why would you do that? No head chef would ever do that. That's horrible.
And in our after show, we talked about, I gave my reasoning as to why I thought that might be, and it's because I didn't think she was going to want to throw anybody under the bus because then it's awkward to be with those people.
Exactly.
And she pretty much said exactly that.
Exactly.
She said that she didn't want to say Sade's name for the fear of her.
Right.
Which I thought was funny. Last week, the three of us were loving on Sade.
Right.
And then cut to this week, everyone is like...
Is hating on her.
Yeah.
But the thing is because she's asserting herself as a leader. And anytime, this is a competition at the end of the day. So whenever you feel like your position is threatened, even if it makes things run smoothly, you don't want that person around because they're a threat. And I think Sade is basically just, kind of making her mark. She's, becoming a leader. She is a good, she's doing well in the kitchen. And she's a threat to everyone else. And so they don't want to see her succeed, know. And so I thought that was a way. And it was funny because I think it was, who was it that she was talking to? Steve, that she was talking to. And he said, you should have said somebody else's name. You know what I'm saying? Like, just make up a name, anybody, you know, if you're scared of her. But, I think she's kind of I think her personality is very timid. And I think she probably doesn't do confrontation well, so,
It's funny, though, because they're all very different people when they're on the one-on-one confessionals.
Right, exactly.
When they're just talking to the camera to the producer.
Absolutely.
And then they get in the kitchen with everyone else. And,
of course.
They become different
people.
people.
It's just like when you talk to your friend, you're like,
Right,
but when you get in the mix, it's a different story. Yeah, like Friday. You remember that? You remember Friday?
Yeah.
Smokey was like, he'd be telling me to shut up. I'd be quiet. But when he leave, I'd be talking again. Like, it's the quintessential thing. It's every day.
Exactly.
All right. So challenge usually starts off with some kind of challenge that they have to do. So this challenge was like in two parts. And so the first part is the team was kind of broken up into pairs. So they went outside. This one took place outside. They kind of it looked like Hell's Kitchen Farm, kind of.
Yeah.
And the focus this week was chops. So they had lamb chops, pork chops, and what was the other one?
Veal
chops. So they had lamb, of course, pork and veal outside. And so the job was the team was broken up into pairs and they had to corral the protein that they wanted to work with, which was interesting. And then the first one that was able to do that in that set of groups then got to pick whatever starch that they wanted to work with. So, and then the second part was every person had to cook what they picked, but then they became individuals, and then only one dish was able to go up for Chef Ramsay to taste, and then he had 2 other gentlemen with him. So that was crazy, of course.
Watching them just corral the animals, grabbing them, put them in there. It was hilarious.
Yeah, and there was Steve, our boy Steve, mixed a goat with a lamb. It's like, that's a goat.
That was great.
That's not a lamb. That's a goat. He's like, oh,
The editors always do such a good job with putting their confessional moment where they're like, I know farms, I know animals real well. This is my challenge.
Right.
Cut straight to him putting the wrong animal in the wrong thing. It's so good.
And then some of them, they've probably never dealt with livestock in their life. Some from the East Coast,
The East Coasters again.
I know.
What is this,
No,
man?
listen. No.
Again.
I'm saying, like, if you come... Look, okay, you're not going to get on me today.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, like, if you come from the city, I'll put it like that.
There you go.
You're in New York, you live in the city.
Right.
How often are you going to see, be on a farm? You know what I'm saying? You'd have to drive out to the country. That's what I mean to say. Gotcha. So a lot of them are from that lifestyle. I hate on East Coast people that, live in that lifestyle. So they don't know what to do, So anyway, it was interesting to say the least. Every team did what they were supposed to do when they went into the kitchen. Of course, there's always going to be drama when you have to pick a dish out of others. And I think, of course they do, because it's a show that's full of drama.
Right.
They do that on purpose because they know it's going to create tension in between. And it was interesting because when every person got to pick, my boy Sterling, because he was out, he had to choose which one he wanted to cook, and he chose the pork chop to cook. And so I thought it was interesting that they actually picked his dish to go up.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to do that because, they hate on him and they don't think he's really a good cook.
The people that were most assertive got their dishes chosen. The people that yelled more at the other people and were louder, I think got theirs chosen.
You make a great point because the people that were up there were Steve, Sade, Sterling, Ro, who's also very vocal, Tasha, Fernando.
Yeah.
So Fernando's not too much vocal, but he's a strong competitor. So just like you said, it's one of those moments. And we were just talking about Katie, how she's kind of more timid. She probably could have had the best dish, but because she's not going to speak up like that, because I think she's intimidated by a lot of the contestants, it's not going to go up.
And then the Ro Jennifer battle,
right?
That was interesting, but I think people dislike Jennifer so much and like Ro that when they couldn't decide, everyone decided on Rose just because they like her more.
And I think it's also interesting because it seems like whenever they do a challenge like that where there has to be 2 dishes and they have to pick one, and one of those dishes, the one that gets picked, sucks, I feel like he always like, what's the other dish?
Of course,
like?
you have to.
And then the other dish is always better.
Right.
Like, hands down. Like, I've never seen it where the other dish is like, oh, yeah, I'm glad you guys didn't pick that. It was like they know that the dish is going to be better.
Well, Rose's dish got 4 stars.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. So they go up. The veal is the first thing that goes up. So Fernando goes up for the blue team, puts his veal up. It gets 10 stars altogether. Latasha goes up for the red team. Hers gets 11. So they're up 1, right? Steve goes up for the blue team with the lamb, 9 stars. And then Sade goes up 10. So now they're down a little bit more. So Sterling goes up and gets a 9. And at that point, when he got the 9, I was like, oh,
over.
It's done. It's done because
girls won this.
Yeah, won. They're already ahead. He gets a 9, and it was like 28-21. So basically, all Ro had to do was get 8,
right?
And they would have won. And
everyone was getting 9, 10, 11s.
Exactly. So and Ro's a good cook.
They had it.
So they go up and and it looked well. It did look good, but they ripped hers to shreds. And I was like, okay, I could see it going away where, okay, maybe it's not as good as it looked. But a 4?
Yeah.
That's like 2 people gave her a 1 and one gave a 2.
That was bad.
That was really bad.
That was bad.
Now, do you think, like, honestly, do you think it was really that bad and they were just doing that for effect? Or do you think, like...
I do, because I feel like their other choice would have been to give her 6 points and then cut to a commercial break to see if she was going to get 2 more. Okay.
They
could have upped the drama there if they wanted to produce it. they would have made it more dramatic, like, oh, they're tied.
Yeah.
Will she pull it off?
Right.
But like,
it just seemed so far off. I mean, again, wasn't there.
Right.
I didn't taste the food, but I'm saying it would have to be, because I think the most you can get is 5, right? From each person.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, because I've seen them use that method again with the stars and holding up the cards. And so if 5 stars is the most you can get and 2 people gave her a 1, that's like, it had to be really, really, really subpar.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, like I said earlier, Chef Ramsay's like, what's the other dish? And then
bring out
it's Jennifer's, and they bring it up and they're like, oh yeah, this is way better.
Right.
It seemed like though they weren't still like thrilled, like it wasn't like, oh, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. Maybe they still wouldn't have won. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it didn't seem like it was amazing. It was just better than Rose.
Right.
So, but of course the guys win by a landslide, and they get to go to Santa Barbara wine tasting, which I've done there before.
Me too.
Really nice.
Great.
Great atmosphere. The girls get the prep from hell. So it's always these punishments are horrible. And they're sawing femur bones.
Yeah, they have
to get the
extract
marrow.
the bone marrow
Yeah.
out. And first of all, none of them can even get the saws set up.
Right,
Saws
right.
are just dropping everywhere.
Right.
Jennifer is pissed.
Right.
Saying that her meal was better, so she shouldn't
have to
do
work.
it.
Yeah.
Which normally I disagree in that, because you're a team and you have to.
Right.
But this one, like, it was shown that hers was actually better. So I can't say that I don't disagree with Jennifer
But it's
feeling
still
that way.
It's still a team. Still a team. She still has to contribute.
Right.
It was just like Deneen back, in the early part of the season.
Well, but Deneen I disagree with.
Yeah.
Jennifer,
You kind of side with
a little
because
bit
it was proven, like you said,
exactly.
that it was better.
If we hadn't seen Jennifer's
Right.
dish be better, I wouldn't have said that. But it's like, no, they literally said.
But my thing is, I would agree with that only if Chef Ramsay would have said, if this was up, it would have won.
Good point.
Because again, there's no guarantee that they would have won. It was just her dish was better than Rose.
I agree with that.
So better is, it could have been a 6.
Right.
A 6 wouldn't have won.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Better than a 4 isn't saying
right,
much.
exactly. So they're dropping bones everywhere, and then it's interesting because they have this buzzer
Right.
in there, and what that was that put there just for that night? Because it sounded like they had to. That was like their cue to. They were kind of like a countdown, so they got a break.
It's like a timer. They had to go back downstairs and they had to strain the stock.
Okay.
So it was basically they had to do something, and then they had to go back upstairs, and then as soon as 30 minutes was up, they had to go back downstairs and do it. Just letting, I guess, whatever sit.
Oh, okay. So it was a timer for what they
Right.
were doing.
But it was interesting because I saw that and I thought it was a production error. I thought that maybe it was like that was a clock that we weren't supposed to see. And that it was like, all right, you have 30 minutes left before we have to do this.
Right.
But then we saw.
They acknowledged.
I was like, oh, that's weird. How'd they let that in there?
Right. That is interesting because I had never seen anything like that before. So I wonder if they use that tactic at some point that we, like you said, because you work in production, so that we don't see, and then this is just something that they happen to use that works.
Right.
Interesting.
Something else that I think is really interesting that listeners should know is Santa Barbara is about an hour and a half away. Mm-hmm. So round trip is about 3 hours in no traffic in LA.
Right.
There's always
From
traffic.
LA. From LA,
right.
yeah.
And then they're getting there, and they're probably there for an hour or two. So they're gone for about 5 hours. So in editing, they make the girls, punishment not seem that long, but they're doing that for 5+ hours. Like you need to remember how long the guys are gone for in order to realize how long the girls are stuck in that kitchen for.
Right. And of course you give them breaks and they have to eat lunch and stuff like that. But no, I that's a good point to make. And a lot of times, obviously you work in production. I know a little bit about TV. We live here in LA. We were around industry people all the time. These are things when you're around those type of facilities. But when you're just a viewer on TV, you just think things are just rapid fire, and that's not really the case.
I mean, 2 episodes ago or 3 episodes ago, they flew to San Francisco.
Yeah.
It's getting to the airport.
Right.
Everyone knows how long it takes to board a plane, do all that, go through security. It's like a 45-minute flight there, and then another 45-minute back. But you have to keep in mind what's going on the other end when they're doing all these travels.
Exactly. And sometimes they've even done overnight trips.
Wow.
Where they've taken them. I think they've gone to Vegas. And then they've stayed overnight at a really nice restaurant, or a really nice hotel or something like that. So yeah, it happens. It happens. But the bottom line is, I would think, and again, you can't control because it is a team effort. But if I was on a team, I was a competitor, I would make sure we never lost. Like I would hell or high water. I'm like, no pun intended. I want to make sure that because I don't want those punishments.
I know.
Like just for the sake, forget the trip, forget the reward. I just don't want to do the punishment.
Yeah, they're bad.
Because it's horrible. It's always either physical or, you're just demanding, or they got to eat some crazy crap. You know what I'm saying? That is just disgusting. Like they're always, they make sure, and again, you're with your compadres, your team, but at the same time, it's like when I was in the military and they had this thing called mass punishment, meaning like if one person messed up, everybody got in trouble. And I hated it because, and I was usually the one to mess up. So everybody was mad at me, like, come on, man, like serious, so I had to kind of straighten up because they threatened me. But anyway, it's the same thing. Yeah. It's like if one person, messes up, Roe in this, case, she definitely lost it for their team. Right. But everybody's punished, not just her.
I loved when the guys are wine tasting. Yeah. Sterling makes a toast to Roe. Right. They're all, saying to Roe, and he's saying, if it wasn't for her, right, everyone would be hating on him.
Right, which is true.
Which is totally true.
Because he wasn't the only one that got a 9. He got a 9. So technically, you couldn't really hate on him per se, right. But just because he was the last person going up, sure, the attention can go. And he's very attention-filled because people just don't really care for him because of his personality. So, anyway, it was another interesting thing because it seems like there's this ongoing feud with Steve and Sterling.
Which is so interesting, going off of that. Normally, when you are punished, I could see going head-to-head against people. But once you come back from a really nice reward, wine tasting, relaxing, getting out of Hell's Kitchen, the winning team usually comes back in really high spirits, really amped to work together. Right. That was not the case this time.
Well, that's true, but I don't know that everybody was on that tip. I think it was mainly, Steve, to be honest, I think Steve is a really detriment to the team. Yeah. I think he's Mr. Grump, Mr. Grouch, whatever you want to call it. I think he has a bad attitude. I think he's better than what he really is doing. And, it all started because Sterling makes the comment. He's like, man, I love you, man. Sterling, he does it. I love you, man. And then, he's like, yeah, whatever. I love you too. Oh, no, I don't. Like, he was being a jerk about it. And it was like, Sterling, he was happy. He was in good spirits like he normally is. And he kind of just, and then of course Sterling was like, well, what's up, man? Like, why you gotta, and then of course they get at it again. So I really put that more on Steve. Yeah. That's just him, and so I think that eventually it's going to catch up to him, as it progresses, because I think as the teams whittle down and you get less people, then there's less that you can blame. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, and like I said, it's not like he's been stellar in the kitchen. We've seen him make some really choice mistakes. Yeah. So, which we'll get into. So speaking of that, get into service. Before we get into service, I want to talk about iTunes real quick, because iTunes is a way that you can download our podcast. We, with iTunes, are in over 100 countries, and we have millions of viewers through that. So I want to let you know that iTunes is amazing. You can go on, you can download Hell's Kitchen, our podcast. You can also rate us. We love 5 stars because 5 stars is perfect. 5 stars. Not like what, they didn't get 5 stars. None of them got 5 stars. But you can give us 5 stars here because, we're likable.
Don't give us a row rating.
Yeah, we
give us a 5 star.
No row. No row here. But yeah, 5 stars. And, share it. You can download for free. Free is amazing. But we love that. And just keep it going. Tell everybody about what we're doing. We hope to have some guests here coming again really soon. Calling into the studio. Maybe have some guests in the studio. We don't know, but you got to tune in.
Stay tuned to find out.
Exactly. So that being said, let's go into service. Of course, he adds another. He likes to do this. He likes to throw little things out, but he adds something to the menu, and I think it's like a steak dish that he added to what the normal menu is. And the normal menu is always the scallops. It seems like always scallops. There's always risotto.
The halibut.
Always halibut. There's always the one with the beef Wellington. Yeah. It seems like those are always the staples there. I wonder if they have like a endorsements or there's no like beef Wellington endorsement, right. But he uses it so much. I'm sure that they have to have some kind of break on.
I don't know. We haven't seen like a specific brand.
Well, they don't. Obviously they can't show brands because of a television show, I would think, right?
But if it was endorsements, that's exactly what it would be.
But I said the wrong word. Okay. Excuse me, Mr. Jeff. What I meant was like because they use these things so much. I wonder if the show itself gets like some kind of price break or something on, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. Because they use the same thing over, I mean, every season.
Well, when you buy in bulk, you automatically get price. So maybe.
I just wonder if like they have their own section in Costco or something. Like they just call it Hell's Kitchen and then it's like just massive, you know.
Maybe.
And I don't know. Interesting. Food for thought. Maybe you should find out for us, and then like you can comment, you know, on iTunes or on Facebook, you know, on YouTube, and then let us know, because that'd be, you know, a good thing to know. Cool. Yeah, it would be good to know. So service. Service starts off. Our girl Sade. She said basically that she is going to take charge.
Which
on
someone
the red
has
team.
to.
You do, and I think too, Chef Ramsay. I mean, it just goes back to what we were saying earlier. Chef Ramsay is looking, I mean, this whole competition, he's looking for one person to lead. And you have to be assertive in the kitchen. You have to be, because someone that's going to lead one of his restaurants has to be able to do that. And the person who's the leader is not always the most friendliest.
Right.
I mean, let's keep it real. And so if you show yourself that you can be assertive in the kitchen, of course, he's going to take note of that. He's going to like that. But again, not everybody on the show is a leader. And so when you're not a leader and someone is taking charge, you're threatened by it. Of course, you're going to hate on it.
Yep.
No matter if it's working well, because it seemed like what we saw when she took charge, even though, you know, someone made comments that she was kind of going overboard, but they were getting things out. You know, stuff was getting out. Appetizers, you know, was flying out of the kitchen, as they say.
It's so interesting to me that everyone constantly complains, like the girls are now complaining about Sade, the guys don't like when Sterling talks, but there were specific challenges based around needing more communication. Gordon Ramsay says, like, don't have a quiet kitchen, continuously talk. And when people, like, they're getting mad at these people for doing what Gordon Ramsay's telling them to do, it's so interesting to me.
Right. No, and you're exactly right. But again, I think a lot of them, and we know it's a high stressed environment. So I think a lot of them are just basically just trying to make sure they get the dishes right, you know, which doesn't always happen. You know, sometimes they get them wrong or they get their count wrong. Or, I mean, this is just stuff that happens generally. So yeah, I don't want to talk because I'm trying to concentrate, you know. So, but I think it was good that she took, you know, charge. Like I said, she may have went a little overboard, but the bottom line is the work was getting done.
Yeah.
In the blue kitchen, we have Steve, who messes up on scallops. Mr. Steve, you know, the hater. And he does this. This is the interesting part. He does it right after Chef Ramsay gives him like an on-the-spot tutorial on how to cook them. Like, Jeff, this is scallops. Like, scallops is cooked every single service.
Right. Well, first of all, I don't know how to cook scallops, but clearly they're the hardest thing in the world to cook.
They must be.
Because I don't understand how this keeps being the biggest issue.
Right.
But if a pro is literally teaching me by my side, I'm going to take in how to do it.
Right.
Right?
Right. You would think so.
When a lot of money and a job is at stake. Like, this isn't just for fun.
Right.
Like,
and it wasn't like he told him and then it's like, okay, good night. Like he slept and then had to get up and duplicate it.
Right.
Like, not only have they been cooking scallops, and granted, I'm sure that they shift people around so everyone gets a chance of doing things.
Right.
Which makes sense, because if you just stuck with one thing, that doesn't mean that you're good. You're just good at that one thing. You learn that really well. But the bottom line is he did a tutorial right there and then said, now cook. And he cooks and he's still messing up.
Which I think, and he did that last week, I think, with Aaron, but he's never done one of those tutorials with the girls. He hasn't done that yet.
Well, maybe they haven't needed it. That's the thing. It's like, I mean, and granted, I think it's, you know, a lot of times it's what kind of mood he's in. You know, if he feels like, you know, let me show you, or maybe this is just, I feel like doing this right now. I don't think, he doesn't do it very often.
Right.
Like, not during service. If it's a challenge and he has to show them something, yes.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, you know, usually out of frustration, like, move out of my way, I'll take care of it type thing. But this, he actually was like, let me show you how to do it. 45 seconds, you know, which is interesting too, because I'm like, it seems like scallops are like very fast also to cook, which is maybe why whoever ends up cooking them that service ends up overcooking them, because they don't take that long to cook. So I've learned a lot watching Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
I feel like I could cook scallops like amazing.
But when they look overcooked, they come back raw. When they look raw, they're overcooked. Like, I don't know what they're doing.
I don't know. But maybe it's just one of those you know, foods that is really hard to get right. Like, maybe they have scallops, right? I'm just saying, like, because it's Hell's Kitchen, maybe it's just a food that it just takes a hard time. Like you notice they do lamb a lot. You know, maybe lamb is very hard. Again, we're not chefs, but maybe lamb is very hard to get right. So they pick foods, proteins, you know, ingredients that are hard to get right like all the time. And maybe that's what creates, you know, the drama because they're not getting it right all the time. So who knows? But like I said, Steve messes up after doing that. There's a couple of VIP guests that I love when they do the chef table.
Yeah,
so they have a person that sits there in the kitchen. So Willie Mitchell from the LA Kings just won the Stanley Cup this year.
He did, and then he actually just signed over a 2-year, $8.5 million contract with the Florida Panthers.
Oh, really?
He won the Stanley Cup and no longer with the Kings.
Wow.
And he was actually just named the 8th captain in the Florida Panthers history.
Really?
Yeah. A few weeks ago, October 6th.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. I don't know a whole lot about hockey.
Neither do I.
But, you know.
But he's not a King anymore. He's not an LA King.
So bottom line.
He won us the Stanley Cup, but we don't want him anymore.
Right.
Yeah. See ya.
Get up out of here. And then Allison Felix, who I am familiar with. She's a multi-gold medalist in the Olympics. Do you got some fun facts about her?
Yeah, I got some great facts about her. She became the youngest ever gold medalist sprinter in the 200 meters at the World Championships in 2005. And she has 3 gold medals from the 2012 Summer Olympics. And that is the most a female track athlete has won since 1988. So she has a lot of gold medals and records under her belt.
Wow, that's amazing.
So
that's pretty
legit.
Dope. That's super legit.
Now, last week in the when they were doing the water polo, they had water polo gold medalists.
Right.
Now they have a gold medalists sprinter. What's going on with the Olympics?
I don't know.
And Hell's Kitchen
I don't
partnership?
know. Maybe they have talking about endorsements. Maybe they have a partnership with the Olympics. I don't know. I mean, I think this obviously films in LA. We know that.
Yeah.
And I think they put fillers out to who they can get in these situations and in the taping or whatever. And because these people are accessible, I think they're able to get them. So, but I think it's interesting that they have a lot of. I mean, they always have actors, of course.
Yeah,
you're going to have that. But I like that the array of people that they've been having.
Yeah.
They've been having more lately. It seemed like when they would have guests prior seasons, it was always usually actors. But now they have, like I said, gold medalists. I've seen some singers on the show, some sports players like Chris Bosh. I remember him being on.
Some semi-reality stars.
Exactly. Yeah.
A girl from Dance Moms.
Right. Exactly.
The best they could get.
It's like, okay, interesting. Maybe because he was young. I don't know. But I like the fact that they're getting diverse, type of celebrities. Cool. So I think it's cool. So going back to service, Ashley, Ashley's the one that I think she's just not all there.
Right.
She's just.
I like Ashley.
You like Ashley?
I like Ashley.
Like, why do you like Ashley?
I just want to give her a hug.
Like, she needs a hug. She needs one really bad. And some other things. She's just so. I don't know. She just every time I see her, I do feel bad for her. I'm like, oh, poor baby. She just looks like she's been working for years. Just no one's giving her a break. She's not sleeping. That's how she looks. And I just like how she said, I think it was the scallops that were just getting, just murdered. And she's like, I feel bad for the ocean. I'm like, wait.
She's got some good one-liners.
What? Huh? What's going on in that brain? I thought it was hilarious. I was like, I have to write this down.
I think she's in on the joke.
You think so?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't think that's. I don't know.
I don't know. But it's just interesting that she feels bad for the ocean. But anyway,
I feel bad for the ocean.
Yeah.
Those scallops every single time. I mean,
the ocean is crying. What? I mean, how do you feel bad for the ocean, the ecosystem?
All these scallops are being wasted.
Is that what you're saying? Oh gosh. Okay. Well, let's all feel bad for those two together. I feel like we need to hold hands. Kumbaya. I don't know. Your boy Santos,
my boy,
who you like, he missed an entire lamb.
Yeah, he just didn't hear them.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay. He didn't hear it.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. That's what he said.
Yeah. I'm not sold on Santos. I think I don't think he's as bad as Steve. I think Steve is bad.
Definitely.
But I think he puts himself better than what he is. At least he hasn't done really anything to impress me per se. I don't know if you see something different in him.
I don't know if I'm impressed by anybody.
Okay. I'm just keeping it real. let's just go all the way in.
I don't. And we'll get into this later, but
Right.
Gordon kind of hinted that too. I don't. There's nobody here that I would put my money on and say
Like, there's
they
no
are going to
standouts
win.
for you whatsoever.
No.
Well, I think for me, and this is, again, like I said, I've been watching the show since season 1. I think right now, I think what's happening, and this is maybe why you feel that, because I'm kind of there with you, it seems like somebody will seem to be a standout, and then they'll go over the edge.
Right.
And they'll mess up. And then so it's like no one is consistently doing well. Like, you have people that peak, and then it's like, oh, they'll have a bad service. So it's like no one can really keep a rhythm of being, consistent.
There's also a lot to cover in an hour's episode, and there's a lot of contestants.
Right.
And so as far as like a production standpoint, I imagine like it's not Top Chef. Like, we're not looking right now for the best. It's Hell's Kitchen. So we're looking
Right.
for the drama, the
Right.
chaos. We're not looking for the people making the prettiest dishes and the nicest this and the nicest that. Like,
Absolutely.
we're looking for the people that are cracking under pressure.
Right.
So I think from a production standpoint, right now we're getting to know the craziness. And again, I haven't watched before this season,
previous seasons.
like you have. So I imagine once it starts getting down to lower and lower people, that's when we'll see the standouts. Right now, I think the production is focused on the craziness.
Well, I mean, and that's the bread and butter of the show. It's Hell's Kitchen for a reason.
Exactly.
It is because of, Gordon Ramsay. He's cussing at everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the premise of the show. So usually when, just so you're aware, and the viewers at home, as it progresses, it gets to usually the top 6. The top 6 basically are no longer on teams, and they get black jackets. And once they get the black jackets, then they work as individuals. So usually that's where you'll see it's not so much drama anymore because, like I said, they're working by themselves.
Right.
So they don't have to worry about a team, supporting a team, So a lot of times it really just focuses on the food and the presentation and, the challenges that come with working by yourself. So, usually see that. But still, like I said, in previous seasons, usually you will have, like, I'll usually have a favorite or somebody that I'll predict to be like, oh, they're going to take it.
win.
They're going to take it. And usually I'm pretty good at it. Either I pick that person or I'm in the top 2. But this season, it just seems like no one is really consistently doing well.
Yeah.
Like I said, they'll have good services and then they'll fall off. And then they'll do okay, and then and it's just, so it keeps switching. Like,
Yeah,
even Ro.
exactly.
Ro's a prime
Right.
example.
Yeah.
I thought Ro was a front runner.
were Team Ro.
I was Team Ro. I thought she was a front runner. I thought she was doing well, and then she gets that 4. And it's like, oh, well, just puts her right back down,
And we all saw Frank was in the beginning, and he's
Right.
kind of doing well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Guido. Maybe he's just not in the mirror as much. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's like, oh, I'm focused on the food. And I think with Frank, though, I don't know that he's doing well. I think he's just not doing really bad.
He's doing less bad.
Yeah, he's doing less bad. So the camera's not really on him. He's not getting yelled at, that we're not seeing. So, but it's Hell's Kitchen. We watch because it is drama.
Exactly.
So, yeah, Santos misses a lamb completely. On the red team, Katie and Ro get kicked out. So we just mentioned Ro. She's doing well. She's front runner. She had that bad dish. And then now she gets kicked out of the kitchen. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
Katie, I understand Katie, but Ro, come on. Like, that's crazy. And then going back to your boy Santos, him and, of course, the infamous Steve, they get kicked out. So it's like now he's kicking out people left and right.
And he goes, more chefs than food are leaving the kitchen. That
Right.
was a great line.
Right. It was a great line. Going back to the red team, and then Ashley gets kicked out. So it's crazy.
Awful.
It's crazy. And I think, I will say he didn't really kick people out like he's doing this last couple of seasons. I think he just gets fed up because, in my opinion, a lot of times they would not complete service a lot. Like, people would just not, like, he would just shut it down because everything was so awful. So I feel like he kicks people out so at least service can be finished, and then he can decide, okay, who's going to be the winning team, or there is no winner like it happened this particular episode. Going back to my boy Sterling, he had a nice little acronym, haters, having anger towards everyone reaching success. Anyone.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Okay. Anyone. No, it has to be everyone because it's E.
You're right.
HATE. Yeah. So having anger towards everyone reaching success. Haters.
I forgot how to spell today.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I think it's great. I think so Sterling's not going to win Hell's Kitchen, but I think he has a career outside of cooking. Like, I think that he could like do a show, or like he could have like a cooking show. Like, that would be dope. Like, I don't know what he would cook. Because, I mean, you know, it could be like, I don't know, just food he makes up. I don't know. But I thought if he had... I mean, like dishes. That's what I mean. Like, not, you know, can't make up food. But like dishes that he create, you know, or whatever. He's from the South. Maybe like Southern comfort food or something like that. So, and then he could like be, you know what I'm saying? Be a host. And he has a great personality. He didn't say 100 this episode. I was waiting for that.
He did when he introduced his plate.
Oh, I missed it.
He introduced himself to the
when he
guys that were
introduced to the
testing
judges.
To the judges,
and he said 100.
He handed his plate, and he said I'm 100.
I missed it. Okay, I missed it. So he did. Yeah. Okay, good. He didn't disappoint. Yeah. So I mean, I think he'd be great. So I'm just saying, you know, I think it'd be good. I would watch a show. All right. I would do an after show about his cooking show. We would do it because it's amazing. It's Sterling.
I'll talk to my bosses.
Like, let's do it.
Get something going.
All right. So this is interesting because I don't think that I've seen this in all 13 seasons. Of course, as you know, the service was both bad. So he tells them both that you have to pick 2 people to put up. You know, he's not declaring a winning team. They go back to deliberate, as they always do, back into the dorms. They come out. He brings them out, and he always asks them, okay, he picks somebody out. Right. Have you reached a decision? Yes, who was going, who do you pick or whatever. The red team, he asked someone and he says, have you reached a decision? And they said, no. And I was like, what? Like, I had never, like, I've seen them, and I will say in previous seasons, I've seen them like have disagreements, like maybe there's 3 or something, but I've never seen where they're like, he makes them go and actually like, picks 2 people right now. Like, I've never seen that. Mm-hmm. I've seen him where he'll pick somebody himself, like, okay, well, you and you, right. You guys are the weak links or whatever. Come down. Or he'll pick somebody, as you've seen in this season that he does in previous. They pick 2 people. He's like, oh, I want to see one more.
That's what I figured. As soon as she said no, I figured he was gonna be like, all right, well, you 2 get down here. Then.
Right. No, he actually said go and deliver. So they had to go off to the side. First time I've ever seen it, me personally. Go off to the side, and then they find 2 people. My thing is like, why couldn't you do that before? Like, you had all that time. Yeah. So anyway, so they pick 2 people. So Katie and Ro are up for the red team. How do you feel about that?
Completely fair. I mean, they're the 2 that got kicked out of the kitchen.
Right.
So regardless of if they were the best or not, they got kicked out. So therefore, they should be up to go. Okay. That's how I feel.
Okay. I agree. For the blue team, I don't know that I agree. We were talking about this earlier, but the blue team picked Sterling and Steve. Steve, I agree with. Sterling, I do not. And I think with either of those, I think this was more of a ploy because they're always bickering. Mm-hmm. That if one of them goes, then the bickering is going to stop amongst them. So I think that's more of a situation that they were trying to kind of, rectify. Because, again, Sterling is not perfect. But I don't think that he's been worse than some of the other people on the team.
I agree with that. I was not surprised by Steve. I was surprised with Sterling.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, I didn't think he was going to go home. The person that does go home is Katie, which of the 4 of them, I think she needed to go.
I agree.
I think she needed to go. So, the right decision was made. But, as we've seen before in Hell's Kitchen, we get to be continued.
Yeah.
So, and we see Sterling... And he says, take off your jacket.
We see the hug.
The
hug you've been waiting for.
I've been waiting for this hug. So I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to give predictions in a minute. Before we give predictions, let's get into some news and gossip, because you said you got some news. Let's do that.
AfterBuzz TV News.
All right, so a few episodes ago, we talked about how Gordon Ramsay lost his Michelin stars, and now the Daily News is reporting that the Gordon Ramsay at the London is actually officially closing. So now there's a few disputes going back and forth as to why the restaurant, a spokeswoman for the restaurant is saying we're closing fully to reflect the more casual dining style preferred by the guests. So basically, they're saying his restaurant's too fancy, but then. Ramsay's camp fired back saying that they just had trouble working with the hotel. So there's a little bit of issue. Not really sure who's right, who's wrong. But the restaurant that Gordon Ramsay lost his Michelin stars for is no longer at the London.
Interesting.
Which is interesting.
Interesting.
And then going a little bit back to the people who were at the dinner service in this episode were people from Dine LA, which, if you don't know what Dine LA is, they host Restaurant Week, which is a 14-day dining event showcasing Los Angeles as a premier dining destination. And basically just a bunch of restaurants have a lot of great deals, and you can...
Special menus, right?
Yeah, special menus. And it's great. So I thought it's interesting that high-profile people in the food world, in the LA world, were there at the service.
Highlighted in Hell's Kitchen. Do you know when that goes on in Dine LA?
July 14th to 27th.
Oh.
So I wonder if that was shot around the same time?
Around that time. It's very possible. Because, we know they've recorded... Well... I mean, honestly, I don't know. It's possible that it was shot around that time. It's possible it was shot even before.
Yeah.
Because some of these, I know with last season, it was shot like a year and a half. It was a year and a half that it passed before it aired. So it's interesting to maybe,
Yeah. But Dine LA is great. If you don't know what it is, check it out.
Yeah. I definitely will.
Yeah.
Because I like food.
I like food too.
To eat. All right. So let's get into prediction. Let's do it.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, so we saw the to be continued sign, like it's in the street, on the TV. It wasn't really, to me. I mean, I've seen it to be continued before, and it's usually more like for effect, like something is happening, and it's like a build up.
It's like Jennifer, about to go to the hospital.
Exactly. That was the last time they did it this season. In this case, it was like, I'm not finished yet, is kind of what he says, which he said before. And then all of a sudden you hear him say, take off your jacket. And then you see Sterling, after they're going through, what's going to happen next episode, like giving him a hug without a jacket on.
Yep.
So it alludes to the fact that Sterling may be eliminated. I don't personally believe that he's going to be eliminated. I think that what can happen, and this is what happened in several times in previous seasons, is that sometimes he'll switch people to other teams.
Wow.
So because you got to remember, the last two people that lost teams or team members was the red team.
Wow.
The red team, because they were already lopsided before. So now they lost another person. So now they're 2 down. So what I believe is happening is that Sterling, he's going to have him take his jacket, like maybe he's going to eliminate him, because that's what's going to appear, because you want it to appear that way for effect. And then he's going to be like, I'm sending you to the red team, because they all obviously don't like him because of his antics or whatever. And then he is the prime candidate to go over to the red team.
You just blew my mind. I was 100% certain Sterling was gone next week. I rewatched the previews over and over and over again to see if there was a glimpse of him. There's no Sterling in the preview for next week after the hug.
Right.
I was like, dude.
Well, that's done purposely, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Because if he was, if they want you to think that he's going to be eliminated.
Which I did.
So, and then when you see the preview, because I did the same thing, I looked out for him. But I'm like, wait a second, they're smart. They're not going to show him to give the effect like he's been eliminated. They just didn't show him because they want you to tune in to see if that happens.
I cannot wait
but
for
I
next
can
week.
like 99%. That's how sure I am. Because, like I said, for those reasons alone, he's not going to be eliminated for the fact of service, because I can't see him eliminating right after. But what I'm saying is, because they're 2 down on the red team, and what's going on with him, and mainly, of course, Steve, and also some of the other members, he's going to move him over to the red team.
Sterling didn't do bad enough of a job to get eliminated.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's where he's going to give the big embrace that we saw at the beginning of the season, because he's going to be so thankful that he's not being eliminated. He's like, oh, you just sent me to the red team. So he's going to be like, oh, thank you, man. And he hugs him, which is going to be hilarious, because I don't think anyone has done that to Chef Ramsay on Hell's Kitchen like that. And so, I mean, he's giving hugs, but not like that. So that's going to be interesting. Chef Ramsay's like face, of course.
My face. I can't wait to see you be right.
No, I'm 99%. I would be severely disappointed if I was wrong. Like I'd be shocked.
Too.
I'd be shocked if I was wrong. Like I'm like I said, I'm 99% sure. So,
well, I think you guys should tweet us what Lem should do if he's wrong. We're going to take the best dare for whoever.
I will do it, because I'm telling you right now, and I'm looking into the camera straight away. I love this show. I watched this. This is the 13th season I've been watching this show. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to my predictions. I'm really good. I usually can predict on who goes home. I'm good at that. as you know we talk about. So I'm pretty certain. So definitely tweet us. You can also comment on our when this goes on YouTube, you can comment down what my dare to do if I am wrong. Now if this is if I'm wrong, which I'm not going to be, but if I'm wrong, we're going to pick the best one, and I'm going to do that live on the show. That's what's going to happen. So speaking of that, again, my name is Lim Gonsalvez. We want to thank you for tuning in to our Hell's Kitchen after show, #1 Hell's Kitchen after show that's out there. You can find me on social media at The Poet Saint, and that's on Twitter and Instagram. My boy Jeff Thurm, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Thurm TV and at Instagram at Jeff Thurm.
Awesome. We want to thank y'all for tuning in. See you later. Good night.
See you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.